He is working as a head in the project management. So he has. First of all, I would like to thank you, sir, for accepting this lecture. So I will. Yes, sir. I will not waste the time. You can proceed with the presentation, sir.
Yeah. How many people are there at the moment?
Sir, at the moment, 20 people are have signed in. So more 8 to come. They will be coming up.
Yeah. Give me a minute.
Yes, sir. Sure, sure.
Yeah. Good afternoon, all. My dear students and faculty, Mr. Pon Ma Kishan. Am I right?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that the
Yes,
way
sir.
to spell?
Ponmakishan. Yes, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you for your interest in learning and utilizing the time during the COVID.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. I would like to get into the presentation now. As you are aware, I'm going to talk about the engineering challenges. It's an overview
Okay.
for the spacecraft realization. Is this screen change now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The slide
Yeah.
change. Yes.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing together both the things,
Okay.
both screen plus cameras.
You can have a minimize, sir. You can minimize that. The screen is visible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, as you are aware, the Vikram Sarabhai is known as the father of the Indian space program. He has visualized the requirement of space program and space services for India more than four and a half decades ago. And then the Indian space program started in a small church, backside room of a church in Trivandrum, Tumba place. And at that time itself, many people have questioned India is such a poor country with no proper infrastructure, industries, or food also to many people. Why India needs a space program, which is a very costly program? But then Vikram Sarabhai has declared and also proven to the then government that we want to develop space program for India for the benefit of the mankind, for the benefit of the common man, and it is not for competition or for show off. And we should be second to none in the application of space technology for the benefit of the common man at the road or at the street level. So that is how the Indian space program started, and the first rocket launch was held on 21st November 1963 at Tumba, which is on the outskirts. And what is the time duration we have, sir?
Sir, we can have 1 hour. No issue.
1 hour. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then the initial slides I will go through quickly. As you are aware, there are different types of rockets for India, which we initially started with a sounding rocket, and then a SLV, satellite launch vehicle, and then augmented satellite launch vehicle, ASLV, subsequently PSLV, which most of you are the current generation is totally aware, is a very successful launch vehicle, that is a polar satellite launch vehicle, and then GSLV, that is a geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle, and the higher version of this is the GSLV Mark III, which is meant for a higher payload carrying to the space. And if you briefly see all the ISRO's journey in one slide, we had the initially our requirement of satellites and requirement of launching them, but we didn't have both of them. So we have made a US designed satellites and launched by Russia. And in the second phase, ISRO has designed our own satellites and then still launched by Russia. Sorry. Because we didn't have a rocket at that time. Then after that, we have launched our own satellites. That is satellites made by us and launched by us. That is a self-sufficiency. And subsequently, we have started a commercial operations where ISRO has designed satellites and also launched satellites of other countries. We have more than 44 satellites for foreign countries launched so far by PSLV and the ISRO. So the initial program also it has developed from 1970s to beyond 2000. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That
Continue. Continue. It is
yeah.
audible. Yes.
So initially we had the experimental phase where we were learning, then the developmental phase in 1980s where we have developed systems, and after that in 1990s it is operational phase. You mean operation developmental is just a test working fine, it is you are happy. But operational means you should provide a 24 by 7 services, whether it is in communications or remote sensing or other meteorological satellites. So that is when the 1990s we have started, and beyond 2000 in the last 20 years is what actually we have expanded our services, programs, and also started commercial operations and services to international community and international customers. So overall, if we see the Indian space program, it has multiple dimensions. One is the government which needs the satellite services for its particular purposes like the socio-economic development, strategic technology capacity, international cooperation, and then on the other side is the industry which is working with ISRO, and then with a technology transfer or on their own. They develop the satellites or rockets or the parts of that and then supply to ISRO on a technology transfer mode or sometimes directly developed by them as a industry supplier. And on the other third dimension is more importantly the academia. We have a tie-up, research cooperation and coordination with many universities, IASU, IASC, and IITs, and many other engineering universities, where actually the fundamental research so is given to the academic institutes so that they start the basic work and then bring it to some stage and then hand over to ISRO so that we can directly get into the lab model. That is how to save time and also give an opportunity and cooperation with the academic institutions. Is this speed and pace sufficient enough?
Yes, sir. It is sufficient enough. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Then this you are all aerospace engineers, so you don't need much of these things. The satellites and applications are different. Communication purposes, how you get your internet, telephone, or TV broadcast. Then the remote sensing, that is actually eyes of the India in the sky, watching India and the environments or whatever area of our interest, 24 by 7 or at different defined intervals. Then there are also experimental satellites before getting into the operational satellites. And more importantly, the navigation services. Today, when we have this navigation, direction, and location services, we have the navigation series. And then, more importantly, the scientific payloads and scientific satellites also. Sometimes they are not directly for serving the public in common, but they are to develop the technologies for launch, technologies for observing the stellar constellation, or for more famous things like Chandrayaan, which most of you are aware. The other satellites in this series include the Astrosat, that is for an astronomical studies, and then Aryabhatta was the first satellite. And very soon we are going to have one more satellite called the XPOSat, that is an X-ray polarimetry measurement. So what are the X-ray sources in the space, and then what are their constellations, and then what are their polarimetric zones. All these will be captured and catalogued and preserved for further studies by the Indian satellites. So now that is the introduction that's over. Now most of you are aware again why a satellite is. Because suppose if you want to monitor our India or particular Indian border or another city, you need some camera in the space. You cannot every time go and take pictures. So that is why satellite is a cost effective compared to the terrestrial systems. It is available 24 by 7. It doesn't have any other demands. Once it is launched and properly designed and launched, it will work for 5 years, 8 years, or sometimes 10 or 12 years also. And then the distant and long distance communications and links are possible through the satellites. And also high accuracies by year the designs and technologies are increasing, so the higher accuracies are possible, and we are developing in the precision and accuracy the images provide. And another advantage is, suppose if you want to see whole of India or at least half of India at a time, that is all possible through the cameras because they have a viewpoint which is possible or which is enabling them to view very large areas from a distance of say 600 kilometers, 700 or 800 kilometers in case of a remote sensing satellite. And one satellite which will come up in this year is a GISat, which is having a camera, remote sensing camera in a geosynchronous satellite in 36,000 kilometers. Though the resolution is slightly low, the advantage with that kind of satellites is we can continuously monitor the India and its environment 24 by 7. That is the things. At the same time, the satellites have some constellations, some constraints also. That is like large initial investment. You have to look for the government support, or the industry has to have a very big business plan, and then the spectrum availability. In case of the communication satellites, the spectrum and your locations and orbital positions have to be required, and you have to obtain them from the International Telecommunications Union (ITU) and the cooperation with the United Nations organizations, UN, OSA, and other agencies, which are required to maintain and monitor all the space assets of different countries so that there is no interference between the people. And then the satellite reliability, longevity, and flexibility, all these things have to be kept in mind. And it is a very tedious process and a very complex process to design, test, validate, and then launch a satellites. So, what is the engineering challenge in this? Most of you, as engineering students, you may be thinking, or at least many of you might have been matured enough by now to know the difficulties. Otherwise, it is not as simple as it looks in the TV on the launch day, because you will be seeing the ISRO programs maybe launch day or -1 day or +1 day, where everything is happening, and then chairman and all center directors will be sitting and then clapping, and then everybody is congratulating each other. But there is a very complex and difficult homework behind this to defining the payloads. What is the payload? What is the purpose of launch? Do we need a satellite to monitor India, or do we need a satellite for communications? If it is so, which band? Is it S band, C band, or extended C band, KU band, or Ka band, etc.? Because each band has its own advantages and disadvantages and specific purposes for those satellites. And also, once the satellite payload is designed, what are the power systems? How do you generate the power? How much power you have to generate? And how do you store and manage the power? Then what are the communication systems, telemetry and telecommand? Because you have to monitor the health of the satellite 24 hours, 24 by 7. And then also you have to command that to switch on a camera or switch off a camera, or change the orientation, or change the direction, or change the this, transponder operation, etc. Then also you have to maintain the health of the satellite. Though we say that there is no space and it is vacuum in the space, there will be some minor difference or minor degradation in the space also. And then the satellite's attitude and orbit control systems have to take care of the health of the satellite. For that we should have controls, sensors, actuators, and propulsion. This is like our health monitoring. Though we are normally okay, in between we have to keep on checking our blood, or what is BP, sugar, and other things, and then take care of the correction mechanisms if it is required. If it is not required, that is well and good. And same with thermal control systems. What are the thermal control systems required in the satellite? And then what is the mechanical structure, and what are the mechanisms to be available in the satellite? And then what is the zero-G environment, how the satellite is behaving in that vacuum condition? And then what are the radiation effects in that environment or in that orbit? And are there enough measures already taken care, or how do we have to manage and control the satellite's movement? And more importantly, the material science is because this involves different what do you say, different materials for the tanks, small tanks which are storing the propellant in the satellite, or sometimes the batteries, different batteries, and then how do we economize on the weight of the material, and how do you increase or maximize the life of the satellite. So these are all the different dimensions to be kept in mind while designing and building a satellite. So what it comes down is, the summary is, you have to have an interdependent mechanism or a design methodology to design this complex state of the art satellite, which is involving the latest satellites and the latest demands. So what all you should take care, what is the mass of the satellite, and what is the volume, and what are the power constraints. Why the volume also comes into picture, I will tell you later. The mass and volume, they will define what is the rocket which has to launch the satellite. Or other way, sometimes you will decide the rocket and then design the satellite. So both ways it has to be a mix and match. And what are the extreme environmental conditions? So whether you are launching it to a 600-kilometer orbit, 700, 800 for remote sensing, or 36,000 or 22,000 for the medium range. So what is the orbit height, and what are the environmental conditions, and what are the tests required to withstand those environmental conditions? Then what are the technological obsolescence? What are the technologies or models or components we may be having? They may not be available now. Sometimes we may have a good design, everything is ready, but sometimes the components are not available. Or sometimes there are new emerging technologies which will give you more bandwidth or a higher power or a higher rating, but at the same time that will call for designing a new PCB or a design changes and a configuration changes. The moment the design is changed, your requirements for testing and verification cycle increases. And then what are the exotic materials, what are the new materials coming into the market, and then this is more visible or more easily understood by the nature of the batteries we are having. You take care of your mobile batteries itself. You see, 10 years back, how were the mobile batteries? Today, how are the things? Now we are having batteries and slim mobiles which are able to sustain for 2 days or 3 days of operations. So the requirement and the advantage here is increasing life, decreasing charging time, and then decreasing weight and decreasing mass. Then, more importantly, the quality and reliability requirements are very high and stringent in terms of satellites, because once it is launched, you don't have any control on that. Rather, you don't have any mechanism to repair that. You can only monitor, control, and then switch on system A or system B, or move it according to the requirements. But definitely, suppose if you take a car, if it is damaged or spoiled on the way, you leave it on the roadside, call the car mechanic and then get it done. Unfortunately, such a luxury is not there in terms of the satellite. So everything has to be perfect for the first time. There is no second chance in satellite launching and then repairing. So, what are the parameters to be considered while configuring a satellite? Because just like that, you don't or you cannot launch a satellite because you have some technology. You have to see what are the services required, as I said, whether it is communication, remote sensing, or DTH service, etc. And then what are the performance requirements? How much is the coverage? Do you want to cover India, or do you want to provide a global services, or do you want particular locations or pointed needs within India? That is like a pointed beaming system within the satellite. And what are the coordination and regulatory aspects? As I said, whenever some country is planning to launch a satellite, it has to notify the international organizations, take permissions, and then notify them with the launch, maintenance, and decommissioning. At the end of the life also it has to be intimated, so that the total space assets or registry is maintained by the international organizations for international cooperation and coordination. And more importantly, the technologies play a very important role, because what are the systems which are available? Sometimes there may be very high power amplifiers or antenna or filters which may be available elsewhere, but which may not be available to us. So what are the best components or best subsystems available to meet the best of our demands? So all these things put together, then we can define what is the payload, whether it has to be a 200 kg payload, 600 kg or 800 kg or any x kgs. And after that, if the payload system is x kgs, how much satellite we need, what is the satellite or a spacecraft system we need. So once the payload is x kgs, spacecraft system needs y kgs. That is like a big house which houses this payload, which needs the minimum requirements irrespective of the payload. You need the control systems, power systems, communication systems, and other solar array antennas and all other things. So the overall design has to start from the scratch. What are the requirements, what are the performance, what is the money available, and then what is the time available, and all these things will define the payload, and payload will define the spacecraft. While designing the spacecraft, earlier I told the mass and volume also matter. Here you see the topmost cone of the rocket is the place for keeping the satellite. So what is the satellite mass, what is the satellite volume, and then what are the dimensions which are available on that rocket. All these things have to be matched. So preliminary we have to define and decide at the beginning of the spacecraft design itself what is the launch vehicle we are targeting. So what is the maximum volume it can occupy or it can allow? Then what is the volume and what is the mass? And then what are the dimensions? Sometimes the volume and mass may be same or maybe within the limits, but then again the diameter or the length and breadth which is available there may be varying. So we have to decide that mass and volume of the spacecraft based on the rocket we are having in mind. Luckily, in the case of India today, we are the manufacturers of the satellites, and also luckily we also have our own rockets, so we have a more flexibility. Suppose in case of developing countries in space, where they can only make a satellites, which was earlier our state in 1970s or 80s, which was there actually rockets of Russia for the satellites made by US or subsequently satellites made by us. So today we have that flexibility or a luxury of matching the satellite and the rocket. And another dimension here is what are the acoustic levels, what are the flight parameters of that rocket, and whether the satellite will withstand that or not, or those parameters of the launch vehicle have to be carried and noted by this spacecraft builder, and then they have to keep that in mind and test the spacecraft accordingly. So this is what I was mentioning. So the satellite has to sit there in the tip of the rocket or in the cone of the rocket. So it has to have a proper place.
So 1 minute.
Can I proceed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can proceed.
No, because there is no feedback. I just want to know whether it is going in a mono
Yes, sir.
mode.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because I have muted Sir, I
So
have muted everyone, so that's why it is not. We are not responding.
okay, okay. You tell me if I have to increase or
No
decrease the
issue, sir.
speed
No
of.
issue. Everything is fine.
Yeah.
Everything is fine. Yes.
So while designing the spacecraft, it is a very complex job. I told earlier. Why it is complex? Because you have to do a very balancing act of what is the timeline available to you. Because higher the time available, the best the design can be. And what is the money available with you? So what is the cost? So higher the cost available, or rather higher the resources or money definitely it will take more time and more money. So you have to manage and take a balancing position between the schedule, the cost, and the quality. Because you cannot build a satellite for taking 10 years design time or development time with the best quality. That may not serve the purpose. At the same time, you cannot design a satellite with zero quality or very low quality, which will be coming at a low cost and at a faster timeline, but which will not serve the purpose. So these are all the parameters, as I said previous slide. You have to take care of all the parameters into consideration and then decide and define what is the satellite, what is the timeline you are having, and what is the money you want for that, and what level of quality you want to define and test. So this is a sequence of the satellite development, which we don't have to go through in full. The first one is the need definition, then the objective, then the project definition, resources, budget, etc., etc. Finally, you are coming to the shipment. That is satellite. In case of India, satellites are made in ISRO Satellite Center in Bangalore, and then the launch base is in the Sriharikota. So you have to ship the satellite, and then once the shipment happens, you have to take care of the preparations at the launch base also, and then get ready for the launch. Parallelly, you have to develop the subsystems, then the mission development, how the mission is managed and maintained and monitored post launch. All these things have to be taken care, and also how immediately after the launch, how many tracking stations are there, then what are the stations and what are the capabilities of the antennas, and how they will monitor, and whether we will get 24 by 7 support or at what intervals or what are the gaps. All these things have to be managed together, and then all these things have to be understood well, and then get ready for the launch. And then once it is launched, you do the initial operations and then in orbit testing and evaluation before declaring that the satellite is ready, and then declare that it is operational for it is commissioned for operational services. So as I said, these are some of the examples. This is not the end of it. There are so many other models. But typically, if you see for agricultural applications, that is like monitoring the agricultural development on the globe or on the earth. What is the resolution required? Around 5 to 50 meters. Then what are the visible bands required? That is visible, near infrared and short wave infrared. Then what is the repetitivity? Why you want to see ideally every day or at least once in 2 to 30 days. Then for the forestry, it is 50 meters to 150-meter resolution. Then different specifications are required for water resources, oceanography, disaster management, and cartography. So these are all the different configuration parameters for remote sensing satellites. Similarly, for communication, I mentioned earlier, what is the requirement of communication? Is it a C band or KU band, Ka band, or S band, etc.? Proceed. And
Yes.
for India, we have three very well established spacecraft buses. That is basic structure of the satellite. That is I-1K. That is typically 1000 kg spacecraft. I-2K. That is a 2000 kg spacecraft. I-3K. That is a 3000 kg. At the bottom, you have the examples of the satellites which are built around that. Then I-4K is a 4000 kg satellite, and I-6K we have very few of them launched, and that is a 6000 kg, that is a 6-ton satellite, where you want to have a long life of the satellite, which needs a larger propellant and then bigger tanks, and then also the long duration of the payload operation that require higher bus system or a higher capacity. So as the previously, as we have seen the quality, time, and money, here also the higher the bus capacity, the higher the payload that can be accommodated, and then the best the system can be. But however, you have to again keep in mind the money, time, and requirements and resources available. So, broadly, how do we define a spacecraft architecture? We define the spacecraft architecture based on three parameters, that is mechanical architecture, electrical architecture, and thermal architecture. You imagine you are building a house, so you know how much time you have, how much money you have in hand, and then what is the building structure, whether you want to have a multi floors or one floor or two floors, and then whether you want an aesthetic look or a very quick and fast solution, etc. Same logic applies here. And then what is the payload, what are the experiments you want to conduct, then what are the applications, and then for those applications what are the platforms required, then what is the structure. Suppose if you want to build a seven floor structure, seven floor building, so your foundation has to be different, right? Same way the structure, and then what are the mechanisms, then what are the propulsion systems are required, then what is the thermal control. If you are building a house in India, South India, North India, or near the Himalayas or the Russian continent, the different thermal system, thermal environment is different. So you need a different thermal control for that house. I'm giving this general example. So same way, the data handling, what is the data coming into the satellite? But that is from the ground stations or from the commanding, and then what is the data outcome of the satellite? So then how do you handle that in what band? And then what is the power requirement? Same way communication and control system. So it is a very complex and dedicated job of controlling and monitoring so many parameters and keeping in mind so many things, so that you have a balance, because one communication system, because everything is not by the same person or same group, one communication group should not develop an ultra modern communication system which needs a very high power, which is not planned or budgeted by the power system. Or both power and communication have good understanding, they have made a perfectly matching system, but the basic structure or the dimensions they don't match with the structural team's design. So that is not at all allowed. It is a very complex system, but very well tightened coordination is required, so that there is no gap or miscommunication between different design teams. So when you see that one by one, when we see different systems now, it is a thermomechanical architecture. So what are the mechanical systems? This I told earlier. What is the launcher load? What is the stiffness required? And what are the dimensional stability required? And what are the overall dimensions? Then geometrically, what are the payload mounting area? Within the spacecraft also, what is the area available for the payload mounting? And then when it is in the earth rotation mode, then what is the view angle which is available, then what is the radiative area, then what are the launcher interfaces which we have already seen, and thermally and other electrical and thermal which we have seen. I don't get into that repetition. So we have seen what are the thermal and other electrical requirements. Then comes the electrical architecture. As I said, suppose if you are having your mobile now, different mobiles are there with different power capacities, and then different duration of fully charged battery operation, 1 hour, 1 day, half day, 2 days, 3 days. So the higher the money and higher the battery capacity, the better you can utilize. But obviously the design has to have optimization. So because you cannot have a very high power capacity which will work for 1 week, but the mobile is very bulky. Same way that logic applies here also. What is the power generation requirement, and then what is the storage mechanism, and what is the control and distribution system for the power within the satellite. There are so many subsystems. How do you distribute them? Then what are the types and number of power lines and protection philosophy? This is again like our power distribution. Power is generated at the hydro power unit or the hydel power unit, and then after that it is coming to the stations, then substations, then to our local area, and then coming finally to our home. Same way different power lines are there. So what are the power lines, what are the protection, and in case of one system mismatch, what do you say, one system malfunctions, how it doesn't affect or damage the other systems, like our circuit breakers or MCBs in our house. So how do you take care of the protection, power lines protection and other subsystems protection? Then what is the attitude and orbital control of this spacecraft? Again, this is defined based on the height of the satellite or orbit of the satellite, whether it is 600, 800 or 20,000 or 36,000, etc. Then another parameter is the data handling and onboard data processing and storage. So all these parameters will define how the electrical architecture has to be there. And then what are the power systems, what is the power requirement, how do you distribute within the space. Then the importance of the mass, this we have covered enough. So the higher the mass, you need a bigger rocket, and then the higher the cost also for the launch.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, what is meant by onboard data processing?
Onboard data processing is sometimes when the camera is looking in, suppose in a remote sensing camera, simply you can see an image and then send it as it is without doing anything. Sometimes based on the previous signatures, you can do some kind of processing on board, so and reduce 1 minute please. This is the work from home. And then reduce the processing at the ground so that the image becomes quickly and immediately usable on the ground. So some kind of, suppose if it is a known parameter, known area like Himalayan region you are seeing, some corrections you can do. On board you know the parameters to be applied. So you apply those parameters and then give the image to the ground antenna in a more usable or more quickly usable format. This is in the case of remote sensing. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Sir, 1 minute. We can have the question and answer session at the end. So students, let sir handle the lecture. We will have the question and answer session at the end. Okay. Yes, sir. You can carry.
Yeah. So this is a disassembled view of the spacecraft. You can see these are all small bits and pieces or subsystems made by different centers or different groups within the centers or different industries. Everything is brought together and then assembled in the assembly, integration and testing phase. Every system is starting with the components or the design phase. So the design phase goes through different level of testing, verification and validation and standard protocols. Then the components are space grade components which at the factory level of production itself, they undergo different levels of testing and then qualification to meet the radiation and other space parameters. And then after that, once the components are used and PCB is populated, the PCB is also tested. After the PCB, the subsystem is tested. After that, the system, let us say control system, power system, communication system, everything is tested at the system level. Then finally, everything is brought together into a very controlled environment that is called a clean room, and where it is again assembled one after the other. First, the basic structure, as you see, the internal or this very central portion structure is there. Then over and over that, around that, the whole spacecraft gets built exactly like a house is built. Everything is built, and all the sub assemblies and modules they are added together, and then everything is parallelly monitored and controlled through the checkout system. And finally the SAS, so whole spacecraft goes through a testing and then simulation as if it is in the space system or that environment. It goes through the thermovac test, that is the thermal and vacuum conditions of the spacecraft in its intended orbit, again whether it is remote sensing, communication or other navigation satellite. So what are the thermal conditions in that orbit? So those conditions are simulated, and then this is going through that system or that phase of testing, and after that it comes out, and any correction mechanisms is if required are carried forward. Then this is the structure, as I said, this is the basic platform. You can think like a foundation for the building, which will have to plan according to the building that you want to build. Similarly, what is the mass, volume, and stability requirements, and then accordingly the structure is chosen, the structure, material, and then its dimensions, it finishing, everything is defined. So finally, whether it is a unified and modular structure design, that is one modular system where it will have a base structure and then all the other modules can come one by one and then they get assembled. And also the overall weight and mass of the spacecraft, whether it is a 1 ton, 2 ton, 4 ton, 6 ton. India's capacity right now is up to 6 ton, but the European satellites are up to 8 or 10 ton launching rockets are available. Then these are the different structures for communication and navigation systems. As I said earlier, in the disassembled view, the central portion is the structure. So this is the structure around which the spacecraft is developed and built. There is no single solution for all the spacecraft like your car, one car, or even in the cars also we are having different models. Like same way here also there is nothing like once it is defined, everything is stereotyped. You have to define every time what is the application, what is the rocket, then what is the period and what is the time, and every time based on that payload, everything will be changing and everything is very choosy. And these are some of the structures for the Earth observation and scientific satellites like the Chandrayaan, Astrosat, and Exposat, and other things. And this is the thermal control system, which is nothing but managing the heat dissipation, because these are all the electrical and electronic systems and packages working in different subsystems. So what is the heat dissipation, the people on that particular design team have to manage, to calculate, and then how do they manage the heat dissipation, and then how do they provide the perfect operating conditions for the satellite. And also the temperatures will vary when the satellite is viewing the earth, or when the sun occult position is there, or when it is in a sun pointing mode, etc. So all these parameters they have to see and then design specific heat pipes as per the requirements and as per the heat dissipation measurements which are there in that spacecraft. So where is the engineering challenge in this? Now students, you have to note down some of the thermal parameters or thermal concepts when you are learning in the engineering. You may be just thinking that from the examination point of view, but suppose tomorrow when you get a chance to work in such a system, you have to design a system and then anticipate its measurements, and then also see what are the heat dissipation, then what is the heat pipe that we have to use, then how much temperatures it will be maintaining, then at the same time everything is fine but it cannot be overweighing. So how do you meet all these parameters within the given parameter, within the given constraints? So it is a very balanced act, it is a rope walk. It is a rope walk for the design team, each design team, because so many parameters and so many constraints are there. So what are the temperature sensors to be chosen to monitor the different zones of the satellite, and then immediately what correction mechanisms are to be taken care. So the point I'm trying to make here is whatever concepts you are reading today, whether it is thermal systems or engineering, right from engineering drawing or any other power systems or communications, different types of antennas, their power systems, their gain, all these parameters are not just for the sake of examination, but then you have to remember that and then apply in the field. And these are all the different thermal hardwares which are used, like the heat pipes and then multi-layer insulation tapes, insulation mechanisms for the spacecraft thermal management. Then the deployment mechanisms. Here is actually, suppose on the satellite, if you see earlier, I have shown the satellite with the solar arrays which are deployed. But then at the time of the spacecraft launch, it will be in a stowed condition where the solar panels are stowed and everything is sitting like a baby in the womb, like a baby in the mother's womb, everything is sitting. So the satellite has to go out, and after that the solar arrays have to open up on both the sides. Then the reflectors and the antennas, they have to open up. Then the radiator panels also have to open up, and thruster assemblies. These are all the different deployment mechanisms which are available and designed in the spacecraft. And I repeat again, every system and every subsystem has to be thoroughly tested at the subsystem level, at the system level, and again at the integrated satellite level. So again, what are the parameters one mechanism person, particularly mostly mechanical engineers, what they have to keep in mind is what is the stability, what are the pointing requirements. Suppose you want to tilt the satellite by 2 degrees. It cannot take half an hour when you want to tilt it to monitor a live incident within 2 minutes or 2 seconds. So you have to have the pointing requirements and which have to be met, and then what are the number of maneuvers and kind of maneuvers to be done, and then what are the alignments and the deployment and the latch up conditions, which all these things have to be well thought of, designed and tested. As I am repeatedly telling, one is your thinking, visualizing what is required. Then second thing is developing and designing and developing what is required. And third and most important thing is testing, verification, and validation, so that it is meeting all the requirements and specifications. So these are some of the deployment mechanisms you can see here. The satellite and the antennas opening up, and then the solar panels opening up and then coming. You see, for this one, the simple day-to-day example I give you. Suppose if you are opening a door, how gently or how harshly we are opening. Suppose if you are opening it very harshly, it will have a ripple effect, and then it will have some repercussions, or by bad luck, if somebody else is coming from the other side, his face is knocked off. So, if same way, if the satellite solar arrays are opening up in a jerky mode, then the whole spacecraft will observe and experience a jerk. So the spacecraft deployment mechanism has to be so smooth. That is why even if somebody is developing and giving even a simple latch from an industry or from an individual engineer, you need not, everybody cannot develop a full satellite, or no single person can develop a single satellite. Even if one engineer, one proud engineer an engineer can be proud that he has made a very sophisticated deployment mechanism, maybe a simple hinge or a simple latch mechanism, which is very light in weight, which is very stubborn in operation, and which is having a very long life of operations. That is how the proud of individual teams and individual engineers comes together, and which will manifest in the development of a big and beautiful satellite. And these are some of the things which we will already 220 we will go fast. And this is a propulsion system. So initially, as when we are driving, we also need the propellant, that is the petrol or diesel, etc. And also we need a control mechanism to take the directions, right, left, right, etc. Same way here also we need a propulsion to make the initial phase operations, because after the launch till that is declared into an operational phase, you need the propellant to make adjustments in the orientation or visibility, etc. And then what are the different firing mechanisms into that, and other parameters. There are different propulsions like solid propellant, monopropellant, bipropellant, etc. Again, different things and combinations are used in different satellites based on those requirements. These are all the different tanks and mechanisms and subsystems for the propulsion elements. That is for the flow control. That is valves are there, then check valves are there, pressure transducer to monitor what is the pressure of the flow, and then the basic tanks which are there. And if the pressure transducer is measuring and the flow is more or less, it has to be controlled. Next comes the important thing of power systems, which you are aware. This again, the simplest thing to understand is your mobile or our mobile, where actually a dil mange more, is applicable here. Earlier, very large and bulky mobiles were there with very small power capacity. Today, we are, as the day is progressing, we are getting high capacity power systems in a very slim and sleek mobiles. Same way here also the requirement is how do you give more power with a less weight for a long duration. For that different technologies and developments are happening day by day. And here the power systems, the electrical engineers and others who join either ISRO or other associations or the other industries, they can take care how they come up with a new design for a payload or for a power system which will give a higher life for the spacecraft. So these are different cell models: nickel cadmium, nickel hydrogen, and lithium ion batteries. And yesterday only some other news came that some more models are coming. So these again, as I said, there is no fixed rule that this only is the good thing or this is a bad thing. Based on the requirements of the spacecraft and its design, architecture, and money or resources available, different parameters have to be kept in mind, and then an optimum battery combination has to be selected. These are all the different models of the battery arrays, that is 24 ampere hour nickel cadmium battery, then nickel hydrogen, then nickel cadmium one more again. So this is the bottom one is a 10 ampere hour only. So based on the ampere rating required and what are the subsystems it has to drive or serve, the power systems have to be selected. Then once the power is generated, then how do you manage the power which is generated? How do you store it? And then how do you distribute? This example we have seen like our power generation in the power generation units on the earth also. Then what are the digital systems? This is for the electronics and microelectronics and digital systems students, where actually what are all the health monitoring parameters, then what are the commands and controls to be given, and then what is the data management. So these three things we have seen earlier. So what is the data size, then at what frequency it is coming, then how do you take it to the ground station. Suppose if you are using a remote sensing satellite, it is visible over a ground station based on the antenna, maybe 3, 5, 8, or at most 14 minutes. So in the 14 minutes or in the 4 minutes, you have to downlink the maximum payload data. So what is the payload data downlink rate? What is required? So for that, what are the digital systems to be designed, and then what are the data handling systems? Then how do you make them, and then how do you see that they are all interleaved and then coming in a minimum bandwidth to the ground station, and after that they are again reconstructed, and also building the security mechanisms. Then communication systems we have seen, they work in the C band, S band, KU band, Ka band, etc. So what are the antennas types? What are the antenna types which are required? Is it a remote sensing antenna which is downlinking the data for a particular station in a particular direction at a time? Or is it a remote communication satellite which is giving the signals in multiple directions? Or is it a TV signal broadcasting? So, or is it a navigation? So, based on different applications, different antennas. Here, communication engineers will be reading the antenna, the gain measurements, then the power requirements, and then the noise and temperatures, etc. So, all those parameters they are very much required in the application of the communication. Why I named this presentation as engineering challenges? Now today as students you may be studying the power systems, communication engineering, power engineering, or thermal engineering, etc. But here in the case of a satellite, everything is a challenge. As I said repeatedly, the challenge of making the best optimum satellite, optimum subsystem, communication system or power system, and also in discussion or in synchronization with the others. And I will make the best communication system in the world, but I don't know about others, means that will not serve the purpose. So it has to have a best communication system within the given parameters or within the given boundaries. Then the next one is the attitude and orbit control system. These are the systems to maintain. Once the satellite health parameters are there, you know its attitude, orientation, or its height, desired accuracy. So for that you need systems on board to maintain and monitor that, and these systems are actually the defining parameters which will give the quality of the output of the satellite, because even if the communication system is good and everything, if it is not able to maintain its attitude and altitude, then the purpose is not served. Then there are other inertial systems like for attitude referencing system, etc., that is used for maintaining the orbit and attitude of the control attitude of the satellite, which uses sometimes wheels or a solar array drive mechanism, SADM. So where will be using the solar array? Suppose if the solar arrays are there, then whether it is a sun eclipse time or is it in sun pointing time, and what is the angle of the solar array with reference to the spacecraft for getting the maximum sunlight and getting the maximum charging of the internal batteries. And these are all the different attitude and orbit monitoring and control subsystems, flywheel assembly, wheel and electronics, then slip rings and brush blocks, etc. We will cover probably later sometime when time permits. So once all these subsystems are designed individually and tested, as we have seen earlier, the most important thing, this is the marriage of all the subsystems which is happening now in this phase. This is called assembly, integration and testing. So where all the mechanical integration happens, all the blocks, building blocks are together, brought together and then built together. Then the checkout, how the systems are functioning on the ground, they are tested, and then electrically what is the accommodation analysis, then what is the layout plan, whether it has taken everything in a system, and then what are the interferences, etc., and then what is the inter-system disturbance if any, because one system, if it is tested individually, every system may be good, but then when they are put together they may have some other interferences. So whether it is all taken care, all these things are tested, and this is the totally integrated satellite is tested and then comes out before the shipment to the launch center. So these are some of the satellite tests. This is a disassembled integration satellite test, integrated satellite. This is how an integrated spacecraft will be. As I said earlier, like a baby in the mother's womb, you see the solar panels are latched and they are there. Then this is a thermovac test. As I said earlier, this is a thermal and vacuum conditions of that spacecraft orbit are simulated in that big chamber, whether it is a 4 meter or 6 meter diameter, and the spacecraft is lowered into that environment, and the lid is covered, and it is there for 7 days, 14 days, or 20 days based on the design and our heritage. If it is well designed, already heritage is available, you are launching fifth satellite, you may use it, you may conduct these tests for a lesser time. And this is the deployment test. This is where the mechanism systems come into testing. Solar panel deployment test. The solar panel, how smoothly it is opening up and closing up, that is tested. And this is the reflector deployment test, which is again measuring the torque which is giving and the smoothness or harshness with which it is opening. This is the payload adapter test. The bottom portion you are seeing here, the cone, is the payload adapter which is part of the rocket. So on that the satellite has to sit. So whether it is sitting perfectly, everything is tested as if this spacecraft is mating with the launcher, so that you don't encounter any sudden experiences or surprises at the launch pad. And this is the center of gravity is tested here, and this is the dynamic balancing test. When the whole spacecraft is there, this is dynamic balancing test is conducted so that the spacecraft is getting ready for the launcher acceptance. This is the vibration and acoustic, as I said, based on the rocket which is going to launch the satellite. The vibration parameters and acoustic levels are different. Like we are traveling by auto or Benz car or Maruti car or another Hyundai car, the vibration and acoustic levels are different. Like same way, the rockets will have different acoustic and vibration conditions. So based on that, the satellite has to be tested to meet all those parameters. This is a RF. This is a radio frequency performance test. Whether the antennas are conveying, receiving, and transmitting the signals as it is originally planned. This is a transportation. Once the satellite is cleared for shipment to launch pad, this is how the transportation happens. The spacecraft is stowed condition, and then it is put in a vacuum, or what do you say? It is contained in a safe container, and the container is taken on this vehicle to the launch pad. In case of India, suppose if it is going from Bangalore to Sriharikota, it will go by road. But or if it is going by aerial launch, means it will be airlifted using the heavy goods or heavy aircrafts. Then once the satellite is moving there, these are the launch base activities. It is mated with the satellite adapter, launcher adapter, and then it is tested, and then the environment is closed, and then we are all ready for launch. So behind this, the project management comes from the beginning. They frankly they don't directly do anything on their own or by their hands, but definitely they have to have a total management of what is happening throughout the center or throughout the different industries and between the centers and the industries. How everything is planned, how everything is designed, and then how everything is tested, and in case of some design requirements or some obsolescence or some other failure, what are the changes which may be required? If so, if some change is done in one system, how that is conveyed to the other related system, so that he doesn't live in the old world of some other old parameters or old design parameters. So every change management is important, and after that, totally how do you account for the total configuration? You should have a master control on the configuration, what is originally planned, what are all the tests conducted, what are the changes happened in between, how they are communicated to the others, how they are accommodated by the others, and finally everybody is back to the same design philosophy or the design specifications. So for this, different review mechanisms are there. There is a baseline design review at the initial design level. Then there is a materials review board which will review what are all the materials, including components or other chemicals or paints or any other materials used. Then what is the preliminary design review once it comes to a basic or a preliminary stage. Then critical design review continues. After that, we have seen the subsystem review. Every subsystem goes through the review mechanism. The subsystem test results are told there, and if there are any observations or deviations, they may be repeated or correction mechanisms have to be taken care. And sometimes some unexpected error or deviations may come, failures may come. Then how do you take care of those things? That is reviewed by the emergency review board. And the pre-shipment review, after all the satellite tests are completed, fully integrated satellite test is completed, pre-shipment review happens at the highest level, which will review the design philosophy onwards, how the test parameters and subsystems are meeting all the parameters, and then it will be cleared for a shipment. And once it is shipped, flight readiness, that is at the Sriharikota or the launch base, and then the mission readiness review, that is really before going for the spacecraft launch. So why I come back to the title of this topic and close now. So why it is called as a challenge? So for all of you as an engineers or as an industry, tomorrow you may become an engineer in ISRO, NASA or somewhere else, or you may become part of an industry also. You don't worry whether you are developing a big satellite or a small nut and bolt for a supply to ISRO also. But still, what is the mass optimization? Then what is the optimal use of power? Then what is the throughput? then what is the maximal utilization of the space which is available, how beautifully you accommodate maximum systems in the minimum space, then at the same time, as we have seen, at the optimal cost and increased reliability. This is all the demands list, a dil mange more. Increased reliability, then a convenience of system integration, how conveniently you can integrate in a faster time manner with minimum number of auxiliary systems required, then enhanced onboard autonomy, how beautifully or how maximally you can do the systems or subsystems design for a onboard decisions, so that for every small control it doesn't look at the ground station or the control station, and then how it will do its own management and how it will do the data management. Then again, adopting all these things, adopting state of the art technologies. When we say state of the art technologies, we cannot say or cry that no, so and so technology is available in Israel or so and so is available in America. What we have to see is what is the state of the art technology available to us, what is the resource, what is the money, what is the time, and based on all these parameters, within these boundaries, we have to design and develop a beautiful and a purposeful satellite. That is how each and every aspect, every day is a challenge in this, right from design, testing, validation, and convincing to the people. And this is the last slide, which actually shows different combinations of the engineering specialization, that is electrical engineering, including civil engineering comes into picture, because the launch pad design and development is a civil engineering job and a chemical engineering job. But mostly the satellites and rockets concern to the electrical, electronics, mechanical, and computer science engineering. So all these things, when you see on the right side around the spacecraft, you need the onboard systems, attitude and orbit control systems, and this power management, payload management, communication systems, and the bus systems. So all the engineering faculties, they have got a big or small role in all the parameters and all the design aspects of the satellite. So that brings to a close of my presentation. I think we have taken 5 minutes more.
No issue, sir. No issue. If students, anyone having queries, you can type it as a message so that we can ask to the sir. Sir, one of the student question is, which are the materials used in satellite?
Materials means one is components, then other one is the material for the structure building, that is a honeycomb structure, and then there are some chemical paints and thermal paints which are used for thermal management, and the wires are there, different wires, their radius, their diameter, and then their material, their outer cover, and then whether it is to be a twisted wire or a normal wire, all those things are there available. Then the tanks are there. So for the tank, whether it is a steel or managing steel or a combination of LIS, then what are the chemicals or propellants loaded there? So whether it is a corrosive in nature, if so, what are the propellants, what are the LIS or materials usable for those propellants storage?
Okay, so one of the student has asked, what are the main goals of the mission Gaganyaan? Main goals.
Main goals is to test the rocket development and a spacecraft development suitable for manning 3 people in the spacecraft, and then being in the orbit of rotation for around 1 week. So
Okay.
because whenever we have to take further big launches or big projects like going to moon or going to international space station, living there for long time, we need the minimum testing. So this initial Gaganyaan is for testing 3 astronauts sitting in the module, and then going around the globe for 1 week of time.
Okay, sir. Another one is like how ISRO is responding to business 4.0 or industry 4.0 as a commercial industry after 2000.
Yeah, but actually, if you see, ISRO is not totally commercially oriented. ISRO is meant generally for meeting all the Indian requirements.
Yes.
How many transponders are required? How many remote sensing cameras or services are required? Then how many navigation satellites are required? Within the available resources, we started exploiting the commercial opportunities. Earlier, I also worked in as a business development in Antex Corporation, which was giving the spare capacity of the remote sensing satellites, or sometimes spare capacity in the launch vehicle. Now also we are giving, and very rarely we are giving dedicated launches for others also.
Yes.
So we are using, we are designing and planning for our requirements to a core,
Yes.
and simultaneously seeing what best we can use it for commercial purposes.
Okay. So another one question is, are hexogrids used for any part of the structure? Hexogrids in the satellite, hexogrids are used or not?
Could be there, sir. Frankly, I don't know.
Okay. No
Could
issues,
be
are
there
there?
in, because generally these honeycomb based structures are there,
Okay.
which are also a combination of the hexogrids and other models.
Okay.
But that is structural team we have to ask. I don't have a first-hand experience.
Okay, sir. Another one question is, how to get internship and collaborative project with ISRO? Internships and collaborative projects with ISRO.
Internship for BTech level is not there.
Okay.
For MTech level, on a very limited basis, it is available. But recently, because of the security reasons,
Okay.
they have restricted it to the children of the employees,
Okay.
or at least the children of the employee plus two people in a batch, so that at least if at all something goes wrong, because there is so much of sensitive information,
Okay.
if something goes wrong through the parent of the or that student, the ISRO has got some control, or
Okay, sir.
our
Okay.
hair is in the ISRO's hand.
Okay. 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 Sir. Another one is, what is the efficiency of solar panels and at what voltage does the system works? Efficiency of solar panel.
Efficiency, to my knowledge, in the space grade efficiency varies between 27 to 32,
Okay.
unlike the commercial grade.
Okay, sir. And another one is, how is a CubeSat different from a typical satellite?
A typical satellite is meant for a long-term operation with so many subsystems and so much of orbit control, attitude control, and then a long service.
Okay. And another.
A CubeSat is something like a use and throw type of, your use and throw pen versus your fountain pen.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Maybe that is the very simplest.
Yes, yes. And another one question is, are there any current limitations to RLV in sending humans to space? Any limitations to RLV?
There is nothing like limitation. We have not yet developed full-fledged RLV, because we had only one test flight of the reusable
Launch vehicle.
launch vehicle. So that is another stream of development.
Okay. Okay, sir. And another one is, how to optimize the propellant data.
Propellant data means how to optimize the
Propellant.
utilization.
Yes.
Propellant is again exactly what are all the different propellants. Suppose use unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrogen UDMH plus monolithic. I don't know. Okay. So UDMH N2O4,
Okay.
MMH, that is monolithic. This one, and then MON. So these are all the different propellants which are used for. These are the liquid propellants.
Okay, sir.
And similarly, there are different solid propellants also. Then there are cryogenic propellants. Cryogenic is the best. That is having the best performance. But then again, that handling is more very difficult and dangerous and complex. So you have to decide, as a propellant engineer, means what is the ideal thing there. Everything, as I said repeatedly, everything will have one extreme of this side, one extreme of that side. But what is required in that particular situation or in that particular context.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So the propellant engineers have to decide what is the best for a first stage rocket, for a second stage, for a third stage, or for a communication satellite, or for a remote sensing satellite.
Okay, sir. Sir, actually, another from my point of view, I am asking. So as you are a project management head of the project management, you can guide the students, right, for a startup. What are the materials maybe ISRO is getting from outside India, right? So you can instruct them like what are the things they can provide for a startup, so that they can manufacture over in India itself.
Yes, that is possible. That is possible either through me or through our technology transfer wing or through our program planning and evaluation group.
Okay, sir.
Personally,
Okay.
I can guide.
Okay.
Personally, I can guide, but formally it happens to those through those groups.
Okay, sir. Surely, once this COVID problem will be getting out, we will be calling you to the university so that we can discuss about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
There is
So,
no end to that actually because that is a chicken and egg problem.
okay.
Like the experience versus getting a job for the students.
Yes, sir.
Same thing.
Yes, sir.
We ask if we have a heritage or experience of a space system. Unless somebody gives an order, where does the experience comes?
Yes, sir.
So they start as industrial engineers or industrial industries,
Okay.
and then slowly develop or upgrade to the spacecraft level or a space systems level
Okay.
or a space grade level rather,
Okay.
and slowly develop. That is a very typical path.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay. Okay, sir. Let's end
Like
up with this.
one of the engineers is asking, I think, how to become a propellant engineer.
He's asking in Mahendragiri ISRO Propulsion Complex, na, sir?
Mahendragiri is the basic propulsion
Yes.
center.
As a chemical engineers are allowed to propellant, but not to the aero people. Actually, he is asking that the chemicals are given to the chemical engineers, but not access to aero engineers, aerospace engineers.
Chemicals are given access to means what?
I he is saying like that. He is asking like that. Maybe he is saying about the what type of propellants where they are manufacturing, because that guy is working in the model rocketry. That Anudip
Yeah,
Gupta,
I
he is
told
working in
na,
the model.
right now
Yes.
the four propellants and two propellants and oxidizers are UDMH and MMH are the propellants.
Okay.
N2O4 and MON.
Okay, sir.
These are the oxidizers
Okay.
in the liquid propellant.
Hmm.
And then in the cryogenic propellant, we have a liquefied oxygen and a liquefied hydrogen, LH2 and LOX.
Okay.
So they are the hydrogen and oxygen liquefied at minus 270 degrees and minus 276 degrees
Okay,
temperature range.
Okay.
So these are the propellants. If the question is about the usage, these are all the different propellants designed, tested, and developed at the Mahendragiri.
Yes, sir.
But if you see the propellant as such, UDMH is nothing but actually it is an extraction from the sugar molasses.
Okay.
It is from the sugar industry in Andhra Pradesh,
Hmm.
Andhra Sugars.
Okay.
So that is extracted from that and then it is applied to ISRO.
Okay, sir. Okay. So I think another one question is, can you list some of the products that are being bought outside India by ISRO?
Most importantly, the components. Though we say indigenous, all the microelectronics or electronic components at the chip level are almost 90% or 95% bought out.
Okay, sir. Okay.
But then we design the systems, we test the subsystems, and then PCBs are ours, and everything is further there because this components production is not a easy job.
Okay.
They are very capital intensive industries.
Yes, sir.
And very few are there, and then developing them for space grade is another big challenge.
Yes. So another one guy has asked, what about the recruitment of aerospace engineers at ISRO?
I said every year generally February or March time frame when advertisement comes for the nowadays everything is centralized across ISRO.
Yes, sir.
1 minute please, give me a minute, some urgent.
Sure.
Hello. నేను మళ్ళీ చేస్తాను. So the recruitment is now centralized across ISRO centers, and for all centers put together there is a common entrance examination at the engineering level that is similar to GATE.
Yes, sir. Actually, there is no categorized as the aerospace engineer, sir. Only they have given us a mechanical engineer. So that's what he is asking.
Yeah, aerospace is applicable wherever sometimes electronics, mechanical, and these things are there. Because as such, aerospace is what actually electronics for space is aerospace. Mechanical for space is aerospace.
Yes, actually that is correct, sir. But they are asking like if we are merging with mechanical department. Mostly for aerospace, they will merge with mechanical. So the percentage of engineers competition is high, right? So if aerospace category is there, they will be having less.
Correct. What do you say exactly aerospace?
Yes.
Let us say you keep out electronics, computer science, mechanical, and civil. What is aerospace in satellite?
Yes. If you merge that.
So generally in that advertisement itself, wherever it is suitable, they will say mechanical
Yes, sir.
or aerospace, electronics or aerospace, etc. They will go. Mostly they will go with mechanical and mechanisms.
Yes, sir. Yes. Okay, sir. Then we will finish this lecture with this question itself. I would like to thank you for this spending your valuable time with our students. Surely we will be meeting you soon later, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you. Thank you
my
very much.
pleasure also.
Thank you, sir. We will end the call. Thank
Yeah.
you.